If you're like me and you have one of these diesel heaters, but it's got the 4-prong outlet as opposed to the single one, you might be regretting, not necessarily regretting your choice, but you might wish that you had one of these single outlets so you can put a like a dryer vent or something on it. And the reason I bought this, and maybe the reason some of you guys bought yours with the 4-prong outlet, is because at the time this was the cheapest one on Amazon. I paid $100 Canadian, which equates to, I don't know, $68 American right now or something. So that's why I bought this, and this video is going to be showing how you can remedy this situation here to get a single outlet if you have a if you have a 3D printer, or if you know somebody who has access to a 3D printer. So my next clip I actually filmed the day before this, so the backgrounds might look different. But I'm just going to be taking some temperature readings of here to make sure that this is able to hold up to 3D printed temperature. And we'll jump to that clip now, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the video. Actually, before we jump to that, I will add, if you have a, some of these have a 3-inch outlet that comes out of them stock from the factory. And the one I downloaded and am printing, it's got a 4-inch outlet, so it should fit a 4-inch dryer hose better than the 3-inch ones. You won't have to crush it down. And so I bought the design online, and I've only paid like $2 for it, $2 Canadian, so just over $1 American for it. And I'm going to leave a link in the description to where I bought it in case you need one. And then you guys can check the guy out. He offered to give it to me for free, but it's only $2, so I paid for it. And I'll give you my honest review on it. So before I actually print out the new one, I want to get a temperature reading of how hot this piece actually gets. This heater's been running for well over an hour, and it's fairly cold out. It is November in Canada, and we did have snow flurries just a few minutes ago, so we're roughly around 0 out. That's around 32 Fahrenheit, somewhere in that range. And I know PETG is temperature resistant up to about 70, 75 Celsius. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit, but I want to get a reading of how hot this outlet gets so I know if PETG will be able to stand up to it. I know PLA won't, or I don't believe PLA will at least, but I should get a reading of it so I have a rough idea. So we're at 55 there. And we're right at 60 Celsius. I'm not sure how much hotter it will get, but, or if it will get any hotter. 62, 59, oh, 69, that's reading right in there. 72. Oh, we might be getting some of the metal off the back there, but if I read it from the side, this will just give us an idea again of 45, just to kind of see what temperatures we get to. So the hottest I saw there was, that's 86. Now I am reading the fins back in there. If you get right back in there, you start reading the fins. But if I just read the plastic, I think the hottest I get's mid to high 60s again. Might be picking up some in the back. That's 81, 64, 51, 63. So I think for preliminary kind of testing it out, I think PETG should be good. I know PETG is more temperature resistant than PLA, but I'm gonna print it in PETG and we're gonna see how it's gonna work. So this is finished. I have not taken it off. Total print time was 10 hours, 48 minutes. And I'll get this off. It's night. I'm not gonna bother putting it on the heater tonight to test it out. But I will get this off and I will put it on the heater and I'll show you guys the results of it. I'll test it out, see how it holds up, let it run for a while, and hopefully we're good. So as you guys know, this is finished here and I've got this guy here. So I'm going to pop this on and I'll let you know how easy it is to pop on. It should be pretty straightforward, but so far this is pretty solid. Turned out better than I expected, to be honest with you. So I'm going to pop this on. It's -8 Celsius right now, or I believe that's about 17 Fahrenheit. But I'm going to pop this on. I'm going to let it run for a while, and we're going to see how this holds up. let's try to show you what I did here. I got the fuel tank and stuff off, and I just kind of got this screwdriver in under here, and I pried that down, and this popped right out. So I'm going to put the phone back down for a second so I can pop that on, but this is coming off pretty easy. I just got to work it out around here, which I don't think will be much of an issue, and then I'll pop the new one on. So I didn't realize this, but to get this up enough, there's actually 4 bolts on the bottom. I don't know if it'll show. Oh yeah, you can see them there. The bolts go, the little bolts that go through. There's nuts in the bottom. And I got this new one popped on. It's not too hard to get. You got to bend this a little bit of the way, which I don't like. But anyways, it popped on. Not too bad once I move this out of the way. And I'm going to get the whole thing put back together, and we're going to start it up and see how it lasts. So I've got the heater just turning on now. You can see the new one is in there. It's got the 4-inch nozzle outlet for it, so you can fit the bigger hoses. As I mentioned before, I believe you can get a 3-inch or 3.5-inch as well for smaller hoses. And here's the old one with the 4-prong. I am going to keep this because I still do like that. But we're going to let this run for a while. It's just starting up, and we'll see how it holds up. So we're about 15 minutes in of running. And so far this feels pretty solid. Doesn't feel too hot at all to the touch. Now one thing I will notice is this is running at between 204 and 208. It's bouncing between. Typically on high with this end, I usually got 210 to 212 or 208 to 212. It would typically bounce around. And similar temperatures as well. I believe similar temperatures. It's hard to tell. But yeah, just at first glance, I may have to try this on a warmer day, but my heater temperature seems to be a little bit colder, and my guess is it's just flowing more air. I'm assuming this is more space than the 4 of those. And yeah, so I'm just, don't know if it's good or bad, it's just an observation that my temperature's a little bit lower on the heater with this new end on. I may print the smaller one and see how it does. Probably won't make a video on it, but yeah. And I'm going to keep this going for a while, and we'll see how it does. So I did just move inside a little bit here because it was quite cold out, but just did that. And I'm just holding this up to experiment. I got that there. First of all, I want to hold the heat in with the PETG end, but also as soon as I started putting this on, we started hitting 208 degrees more, and as you could probably hear it there, it went into where the fuel pump starts to slow down. There's 210, not to get too hot. So definitely putting the old restriction back. I mean, it's double restricted, but kind of putting the old one out front of it like that, it definitely puts out a little bit more heat. I guess just holds the heat in there longer, and you can hear the fuel pump again there. And then as you pull this off, at least just before I started filming, my temperature started dropping back down to that 204, 206 range again. Yeah, back down to 206, bouncing up to 208, 206. It's not holding at 208 anymore like it was before. 210. But you notice once I pulled that off, you don't hear the fuel pump kicking back down. And so far, this guy, it's getting a little softer. Nothing to worry about, I don't think. But that just is something to note, that it's not as hard as it was. So we're going to keep this running, and we'll see how it holds up. So we are just over a half hour into this, and I got my temperature gun, and I just want to get some readings on it to kind of see where we are at. So if I go down in here, 57, 56, 41 Celsius. This is all Celsius. That's a little hotter. I don't know, maybe because if I get right down in there, you know, it's 145 right on that center. We'll go over to Fahrenheit, 294, 129, 119, 93 on the inside there, 67 Celsius. We're starting to get the metal there. I guess you guys can't see the laser, but we're just barely clipping the metal. We're hitting 93 Celsius. Go a little bit lower and we're at 54. 72. So I do believe that I mean, that's solid there again. But I do believe that we're probably close to the limits of PETG. But squeezing this, it seems to be holding up. And it's after I took this guy off, it's hard again. But what I'm gonna do is I'd like to hang this on because I don't have a hose right now, and this will kind of simulate a dryer vent hose being on it. It will trap some of the heat in there. So I'm going to let that go for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and we're going to see if that's any softer and some more temperature readings of it. So I'm probably going to have to prop this up with something, so I'll do that off camera, but I'll come back shortly and let you guys know. So it's a bit later. I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to touch it and feel how it is, if it's softer or not, and then I'm going to grab my temperature gun and see where we are at. So pull this out. Oh, and as you can see, we've actually deformed. That's not exactly what I was hoping to see. 77 Fahrenheit or Celsius, 225, probably got that. Yeah, that's not good. That, man, that really softened up under that heat there. I'm gonna have to try it with a dryer vent at some point, see if that does any better. But, I mean, that'll still hold what I need it to. But yeah, that definitely deformed with that different end on it. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this off, and then I'm gonna look into it a bit more and come back and kind of give you my thoughts on it. So since that bent, it's a little oblong still, but I took a hockey puck and a heat gun and I kind of ovaled it back out. Now this piece was getting loose, so I ended up putting a self-tapper there, and then another self-tapper on the bottom. I know there's a bit of room at the top, but that seems to have kind of fixed that. So I've got this piece of ducting still. I'm gonna put it on, we're gonna run it on high again, and we're gonna end up seeing how this works. So I just found this 4-inch pipe, and I'm going to put this on because it should fit. And I'm gonna have to prop up the back to hold it. But I'm gonna let this sit here for a bit, and I don't have a hose clamp, unfortunately, to put it on the end. But I'm gonna let this sit here. I'm gonna turn it back up to high, and we're gonna see if it deforms anymore. And this will be a more realistic, as opposed to having that piece over the end of it. So I've had this going for about a half hour or so, and something I noticed is the temperature now with this on, the extra piping, is now like 198, 200, whereas even before, you could, without anything touching it, it was like 204 to 208, somewhere in that range. But this has been on for, like I said, roughly a half hour. I'm going to pull it off, and I'm going to start touching the plastic around it to test it out, and then we'll see what temperature it is. I've got my temperature gun, and it's working. We'll pull that off, see kind of what temperature we're reading, and then kind of make a determination from there. So after straightening this out, that's pretty solid. That's not flexing any more than it was before. We'll get this 40 Celsius, 34, 47. We'll do that Fahrenheit. That's 118. 100 Fahrenheit. 53 on the inside. So you can see that under these temperatures, or with a kind of pipe like this coming off it, or I would assume a dryer hose will be similar, this doesn't deform. So it only deformed when I had this guy covering it, as it was probably trapping in the air. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit here. So I do believe that this should, based on that testing, this should hold up better than I originally thought. And that's a cheap and easy way to go from the 4-prong down to the single outlet. And like I said before, when you buy these for it's like $2 Canadian or just over $1 American, you get 2 different sizes of this you can download. And then you can't see on mine, but the inlets, he also has different size prints for the inlets. So that way you can run a hose off the back and you can, pipe that into your tent or what have you. And yeah, so, after testing this some more, I do think that this would be a viable option. If there's ever any issues, I will keep you guys updated and make a new video on it. But as for now, I think for, $5 worth of filament, $2 to buy the print, you get the different sizes you can print for the front and for the back. I do think this is a great way to turn your diesel heater from a 4-prong into a single outlet, or just subsequently, if you want to move up from the 3-inch outlet up to the 4-inch outlet, it's a cheap way to do that. I know you can buy these on Amazon. I think it's around $15 to actually buy a proper bigger outlet. Yeah, like I say, I'm going to leave the link to printing one of these in the description. The guy was fantastic to deal with. He did offer to give it to me for free. I did not take that offer. Yeah, he designed a pretty good outlet for it. And like I say, I did have to put screws in there, as after it got heated and warmed a bit, this was kind of loose and pulling out. With those screws in there though, it seems to be holding strong, and I don't think there'll be any more issues with it. And yeah, I hope that video helps somebody. I hope it helps you save some money from having to buy a new one, and have fun with your diesel heater. If you like this content, click subscribe. If you have any video suggestions with diesel heaters or anything like that, please let me know, and I might be able to make a video for you. So I actually wanted to do a follow-up on part of the video. I'm not sure where I'm going to splice this into it yet, but I do have the garage shut, and I do have my carbon monoxide detector here, as I just wanted to test this out. But it is warmer in the garage. It's probably around 0 Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit, somewhere in that range. And I got this going, and I have the old end put back on it. And with the old end put back on it, we are reaching full temperature now. It says 206 there, but it voices up around 210, 212, and you can hear the fuel pump shutting down and slowing down. So I don't believe that the different end made a difference, because once I put this end back on before, I can't remember. It's a few days ago I did the video, but I can't remember if I put this back on for the video. But when I put it back on, my heater still was not reaching full temperature. And that was after testing it the other night. And with this back on now, it is reaching full temperature, and you do hear the fuel pump shut down to its slower tick ratio. So I do believe the ambient temperature, it had dropped quite a bit, and I hadn't realized it. We had dropped probably 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, and because of that, we just weren't reaching full temp. And now that it's warmer again, especially in the garage here, it's warmer, we are reaching full temp on this. So that I wanted to test that out to see if it was the end making the difference, or if it was just the ambient temperature.